Welcome to Season 4 of John McGivern's Main Streets.
This amazing spaghetti hair.
The Main Streets podcast takes you behind the scenes of this popular PBS Wisconsin program. Now, get the inside scoop on this week's episode from hosts John McGivern and Emmy Fink and the Main Streets producer and director Lois Maurer.
Back from Minnesota, we were in St. Paul this last week. It's episode 6. I'm here, of course, with Lois. Hi, Lois.
Hi, John.
Hey, Emmy.
Hi, John.
Hi, Emily, our producer of this episode. How you doing?
Good. Hi, John.
You have to know, so far, I know it's only episode 6, but it's my favorite.
Oh, so happy to hear that. I loved it too.
I love St. Paul.
Yeah.
Did you know St. Paul before you went to produce it?
I have been there maybe twice. And, living in Milwaukee, it's just close. I should have been there more. I just fell in love with it.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And the neighborhood we did. How did it get chosen?
It got chosen because you hear about it a lot for the cathedral, right? You can't miss it. And it's beautiful. So, that's kind of where we started. Our first venture into the Twin Cities. Let's start in the Cathedral of St. Paul.
Cathedral Hill is the name of the neighborhood. And it's got a street on it since we've been back called Summit Avenue. And since we've been back, I have completely gone down the rabbit hole of the history of, the houses of, it's just a remarkable street of turn of the century. That's from the 1890s through the 1920s, mansions that were built on one street and that are still standing. So and it's so cool that we got a chance to get in 2 of them.
What is that designation, Emily? It's the street with the most...
It's the longest avenue of Victorian homes in the country.
There we go.
Summit Avenue in St. Paul, Minnesota.
And when Emily said we were going to do this neighborhood, Cathedral Hill, I had never heard of Cathedral Hill, but I have nephews who live in St. Paul who talked about I should go to Summit Avenue. So I was kind of like, oh, no, I don't think I want to do Cathedral Hill. I want to do, same thing.
Yeah.
The same thing. And right, Summit Avenue is the beautiful homes.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cathedral Hill, Selby, is where where you eat, where you kind of get touristy. So it was a nice close combination.
And like the
Cathedral
cathedral
Hill
is the actual pinnacle on the top, and then Summit goes one direction and kind of the other. But the cathedral, I could have also done an entire show about that. I loved it. Did you love it, John?
Completely.
Yeah.
Every moment of it.
Yeah.
And the pastor or the rector of the cathedral was kind enough to take us anywhere we wanted to go. He was a great interview. He, again, completely knowledgeable. He was a rector years ago, went and was a pastor at a parish, came back as now the rector again.
Yeah.
So
I asked him, is that like a demotion that you had to come back? And he's like, no. As a matter of fact, I'm the one who has the most knowledge about this cathedral and restoring this cathedral and keeping it, and so it's kind of a coup to be asked back.
Yeah,
but
and
do you remember the site survey, Emily?
I do. It was cloudy and cold.
Do you remember the woman we met in the cathedral? Okay, so we go in the cathedral and we're talking to, it's one of those tour kind of deals, and you're touring around, and the woman who does all of their, what's it called?
Yes.
Painting and restoring of statues. She's probably, I don't know, she was in her mid-70s, I would say. And I'm sure this is a giant labor of love. She is an artist by trade. And she was a Polish woman. Do you remember? I loved her accent. I could have listened to her forever. And she took us everywhere. She opened up this door and showed us the nativity set, the life-size nativity set that they put out on the lawn every year. And the one statue that's arm breaks off every year, and she has to fix it.
Oh, it's incredible.
It was so cool. And I really wanted her and really tried to put the screws to her. Like, come on, and she was having none of it. So I'm sorry, Father.
She said no to you?
Oh, she did.
Never, ever heard of anybody doing that.
When you were there for B-roll, so it was just you and Brian.
Oh,
and
there you go.
I knew that the cathedral was going to be too much and,
right.
one shot to get everything in our time frame. So you had to go early.
Oh,
with the
that
videographer.
is right. That wasn't you. That was Brian. And we were just totally overtaken by she got us in these little closets that she should not have. I'm sure we shouldn't have been down there.
Very humble, right? Didn't want to be
Oh,
on
she was
camera.
like, no, this is not my thing, not my thing. And I was like, oh, can I tell you, she would have been great. But the other thing that happened the day we did that, the B-roll, is we were flying the drone in there. So we had permission to fly the drone in
the chapel.
In the actual cathedral, right? So, you're going up and you're going down. But this cathedral is open to the public. I mean, every day from 8 to 5 or whatever, it's open because they have incredible tours and all of that. So we're flying the drone in there, and there's an area behind the altar. It has a name. It's like there's something of nations. Do you remember this? Anyway, it's this like kind of area. It's a half circle back there where they have all this other statuary, and they have saints of every nation back there, statues of them.
And altars, too.
And altars to each
Right.
one, right. And so we went back there, and I said to Brian, of course, because I'm always challenging him to do stuff that he's always mad about. And he's like, I said, just fly this, this ark, The drone is loud when it echoes off marble. So it sounded like really loud, but we're flying around that back corner. And right in the middle, right directly behind the altar, are these beautiful carved wooden doors. And as we're flying past, the doors open, and there's the priest and his right-hand man, who literally stopped, and this drone was right in front of him. And he goes, excuse me, but there is no droning allowed here. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, we're with John McGivern's Main Streets. And then Father was like, oh, sure, come on. And the other one says, oh, good, I was so afraid I was going to have to call the sheriff again.
Happens a lot, apparently.
I was like, what? So no, don't call the sheriff. We're legit, I promise.
Well, he was giving us a tour, if you remember, and we went to one of the side altars. And the woman looked at us and said, could you allow me to finish praying?
Oh, geez, I know.
And I was like, wow.
We should not be here.
Do you
Wow.
remember how many confessional rooms they had? Was it 8 total? Like 4 on each side?
Oh, were there?
On each side in that cathedral?
I just don't remember counting them.
A lot of sinners in St. Paul.
I'll
Yes.
say.
It's a new T-shirt for them.
No,
Right.
it was, but beautifully, beautifully done. It needs some restoration work. And I know that's why they brought Father Joe back. And remember, you called him Father, no, you called him.
I was hoping you'd forget about that.
What'd she call him?
I think he was introduced to us as Father Joseph. And then at one point, several minutes after that, and I'm kind of like just hanging out in the background because
Right.
it was nothing I was involved in. And then at some point he said something to me and I was like, oh yes, Father Joe. And he very quickly corrected me.
Oh, and the woman next to him corrected you too.
Right. I was like, oh God. I know you guys are thinking like, this is why we don't let her talk a lot. Just stay in the back. Memorize
It was
it.
fun, though, because then you called him, and then you were like, hey, Joe, what's up?
Then I thought, now I have to make this funny.
And own it.
So, yes, and I
Right.
owned it. Was Brian nervous to fly that drone around that little area? I mean, I'm like nervous for him
Well,
hearing
it's a
that story.
huge area, as you know. I mean, the cathedral is big, but he does have, I'm going to call them bumpers that go around his drone.
Okay.
So if he would have knocked into something, he would not have hurt anything because
Sure.
he has a cage basically that the drone goes in so that it won't hurt anything it flies into. And he uses
He couldn't
that.
have heard anything anyway.
Yeah.
That was all marble and
True.
Oh, you come on. If it's going to happen to anybody, it's going to happen to us. You know
no
that.
doubt. Yeah.
We're going to fly along and all of a sudden, there goes Mary's hand or something.
Right.
So better to use the bumpers.
Yeah, and maybe you should have waited for Sunday services to be over too before you just started flying over there. But
It wasn't.
This doesn't always happen, but I love that our first interview was Nina's Coffee.
Nina.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
that's what I
yeah,
meant.
remember? June
Nina's
would be
Coffee,
mad at
and
you.
It wasn't Nina who we talked to because Nina is who opened the coffee shop.
Well, the building was named after her, right?
whole building was named after her.
What?
Because her business was in the upstairs, if you remember.
Oh, that's right.
St.
Yeah,
Paul Madam.
Right. Her business was the brothel
Right.
above the coffee shop now, I
Right.
guess. But Nina is like a fixture in St. Paul.
Right. There's statues.
Yes.
You know, she's just really a historical figure.
Her
which is like
statue is on Summit Avenue, in fact.
right down from the cathedral. How do you figure that worked?
Love that because
Right.
Yeah.
It's only right.
They said the
Well,
businessmen really revered her.
hello.
Mm-hmm.
What was the woman who we talked to at night? June. Yeah,
Burkhart, right? Burkhart?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
she was fed. I mean, she's a pistol, that one.
she is.
She is a pistol. That was really fun.
She was one of those who's like, I don't really. Oh, please, I don't want to. Oh, I'm so nervous. Then she's like, well, hello. It's like, oh, camera rolls and she's perfect. It's like
She
oh,
was
there we
on.
go.
How much coffee had she drank? And was it good coffee?
It was good coffee.
Yes.
Good
Yeah.
coffee. Yeah.
And it was her special. What did we make? I went back there and made her house special. It was good. It was some caramel something.
Yeah, something delicious. We also had delicious food at Moscow on the Hill.
Yes.
That was a great interview.
Oh, so everything, Emily, was so good in
Oh.
St. Paul.
That
the people
woman
were
needs her own
fantastic.
TV show too.
Yes.
It's a mother and son.
Right.
Right.
And the son we thought the son was going to be the one it was no, we got to talk to this lady.
Yeah.
And she was great with that Russian accent.
Oh, yeah. And told us a lot of stories and, linking the food with the ethnicity, but they're a fixture in St. Paul.
Right.
Yeah, only Russian restaurant in the Twin Cities.
And it's authentic too. Really
What did she
good.
bring out? What did we have? Do you remember?
Was it potato salad? Was it a Russian potato
That's
salad?
what she made. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it warm like German potato salad or is it cold?
No, it was cold, more like a French mayonnaised potato salad, the ones that I was raised on with mayonnaise, not with vinegar and bacon.
Right.
So it was more like that.
Yeah.
The salad known everywhere in Europe. It's called salad Olivier. And usually the salad served on December 31st, the biggest holiday during the year.
Yeah. Do you have it every New Year's Eve?
Absolutely.
You do.
Everybody
Along
has
with
it.
what?
Vodka.
But they were fantastic. And the restaurant itself is so cool. Is really cool. We
The
went there, right?
ambiance, for the site survey, Lois and I went, and the ambiance inside, it's lovely. We ate so much on that site survey that we everything.
did.
Dessert, sure. You want another one? Sure. We left there very happy and full.
Yes.
And in the summer, the outside patio is where all the locals, they just love that outside
Yeah.
area.
Oh, yeah. It was, I remember the site survey, they were walking in there and thinking, you're right, the ambiance is wonderful and Brian's going to hate me because it's
Right.
dark,
So dark.
and red. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I'm not really sure how we're going to do this, but we're doing it anyway.
Yeah.
What's the restaurant we went to? And we didn't interview in the restaurant, but we interviewed the author in that restaurant.
Yes.
That was W.A. Frost.
Yes. Which was another restaurant. We were trying to decide which one to do.
Right. It's
And
tough.
then-
We can't do,
Yeah.
really two restaurants in an episode.
And
But
they're right across the street from each
Right.
other, really.
William Kent Kruger.
Right.
Mr. Krieger, I think it's Krieger, isn't it? All I can tell you is that I've been reading his series because a friend of mine turned me on to his books. And it was just happenstance that you picked St. Paul, Emily. And then I was like, all right, find me this author because I knew he was from St. Paul. And of course, she's like, what are you talking about? But people that follow him are going to be so excited to see him in the show. They are, because his books, and he wrote these books all in St. Paul at a little diner that used to be right, in a neighborhood. The diner is gone now, but W.A. Frost is his favorite restaurant, which is why we ended up meeting him there.
Right. And Cathedral Hill, that neighborhood, the birthplace of F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Yep.
So it all kind of
kind of
tied
literary.
together. And we
Yeah.
wanted to show W.A. Frost, right? It was a pharmacy on the first floor for a while. It's just a place you have to see.
Yeah, it was really
With
well.
another amazing outside.
Yeah, their
patio as
patio
well.
is really famous. Yeah. Yep.
The restaurant's famous, and right in the middle of that neighborhood.
Absolutely. But he was charming, wasn't he?
It's great.
Did you read the books yet?
No. Remember I started, I was like, I don't get it.
I get it. He's a mystery writer, but all indigenous to Minnesota. So everything he talks about in there, I'm like, we've been there. I've been there. I know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
We got into two houses on Summit Avenue.
And which wasn't enough for you.
James Hill, who, when we got home then and watched the Ken Burns special on the railroad and the way they made it to the West, it's all James Hill.
And then did you know that like 2 weeks after we got back, I went on a train trip to Glacier National Park and the Big Tree Lodge there, built by the Hills of the Great Northern Railroad. And I was like, oh my gosh, I heard all about this in St. Paul.
Right.
Yes, everything's
So we
connected.
were in the house that he built for his family that is now a tourist attraction. And then we went to the house next door that was built
By his son.
For
by
his son.
Oh, for his son. Yes,
owned
thank you.
by the Ordway is a huge name in St. Paul. The
Yes.
Ordway Theater, the Ordway Theater Center.
Yes.
And so it's the family of the Ordways that own that house, and it's a private residence. And what we thought we were just going to do a stand-up, right?
And then is her name Nancy?
Yes, Nancy Nicholson.
Nancy Nicholson came to the door and we were like, oh my God, she's going to let us in this house. Oh my God, she's going to show us everything in this
Well,
house.
she better because she's in a gown.
She was perfectly dressed.
That's how you have to
for
dress if
She
you live in a
answered
home like
the door
that.
in a gown.
Yeah, in an evening gown. Because the house is, and she wanted to do justice to the house.
Oh, my fancy.
Oh,
Wow.
my fancy right.
It was fun.
It was great.
It was fun.
It was a good episode. And I love our segment together was the St. Paul Curling Club.
That
Do you
was
remember how good you were?
no, but what was funny about that is it was a 2-location shoot because it was under construction.
Everything is
There
a
was no
two-location
ice in
shoot
the
now.
actual curling club when we went because it goes out in the summer. So yeah, we knew that going in, but we were like, this is such a cool story. And thanks to John McGivern, that's how the curling club came in, right? You knew people there.
Right. My sister-in-law's family are deep-rooted curlers in St. Paul.
And that curling club is very long-lived. I mean,
One of the
it's-
oldest
Oldest
country.
curling club in Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Largest active membership in the U.S. So serious about some curling there.
Oh, I tell you, and they were ready to teach too. They were really ready to teach.
Emmy was a good student.
Oh, it was fun. I mean, the father and son combo, it's such a cool sport for any age. And I think it's
cool
really
for sure. Do you remember we had on like shorts and t-shirts?
right.
It was summer.
It was so hot.
Oh, it was so
And then it
cold.
was so cold.
We froze. I used somebody's sweatshirt. It was
So
cool.
you threw the stone and I swept.
right,
the
you were the
ice.
sweeper.
And then they were like, come on, you're going to throw it. I'm like, no, I'm not. Because you got to kind of, there's some bending over sort of, I mean, not that I can't bend over, but I was like, I don't think I can. They said, no, use the old man's stick for this. So,
Yes.
and do you remember I got it right in?
You did. And you were good. And then you didn't use the stick anymore. You really impressed me.
Quit, Emmy, because he quits after
I
he
took
does
the
well.
shoes off.
He threw one really good one, and I was like, you got to stop after. Because,
Done
like,
with this.
right?
Did you get it on film? Perfect. We're going home.
Exactly.
I hope he did anyway.
Yeah.
It was a good episode. Our fan shout out is Laura Grimmer from Brazil, Indiana. Good job, Laura. Thank you so much for watching us. and
Brazil,
for supporting.
Indiana.
I was just going to say,
Maybe we got to look up that one.
Right.
You have a
Emily's
sponsor?
already on it. We have a great sponsor, and it fits perfectly with St. Paul because while we were there, we stayed at the Drury Inn.
Oh, we
And the
did.
Drury Inn has many locations. They're based out of St. Louis, but they have so many locations throughout the country. And they were kind enough to come on board as a sponsor and gave us a really nice room rate throughout the season when we were in communities that they had a
Yeah.
hotel at. So we loved the Drury.
They do it right too, don't they?
They have the 5:30 kickback, which if you have stayed, you know all about because you get 3 free drink tickets. They have a whole spread of food, and I'm not talking just a bag of Gardettos for you, like a whole meal.
Yeah. Which really helps on the budget. So I'm always happy when
It
we
really
say-
does. Except we're
don't-
always a little mad at Lois when we don't finish by 7 o'clock when the kickback is done. You know, because by 6:30 we're like, wrap it up, lady. We're all
I'm
like,
saying that at 4:30.
because the kickback at the Drury Inn waits for no one.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I do my best, but you know.
I know you do.
It was a great episode, you guys. That was episode 6, St. Paul, Minnesota, our season 4. We'll talk again pretty soon. Thanks.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Want to wear something that's going to support your favorite show? Shop at Main Street Store. Proceeds go to help us get next season into production, so come on, go shopping at mainstreets.tv.